What's a progressive idea that's actually regressive when applied? Demanding purity and not allowing room for change. It's not progressive to constantly hold someone accountable for their worst moment, but rather it is more responsible to reward people for improving who they are and judging them based on their journey from their worst moment. However, I acknowledge there are some things that are very hard to come back from. Too often the progressive mindset harps on mistakes instead of a healthier discourse that encourages positive change. The push to eliminate advanced academic tracks in schools in the name of equity often ends up holding back gifted students and depriving high-potential, underprivileged kids of a crucial path to advancement. Nuclear energy bad may fall under this idea. It is safer and puts out less radiation than coal power plants. I'm surprised how many progressives have championed a universal job guarantee, since in practice it's just adding a work requirement to unemployment benefits under a different name. Watering down words. Unhoused. Live. Everything so clinical and sanitized to maximize the comfort of the listener and shield them from thinking about it for 5 seconds. As a fairly progressive trans man, the first thing that comes to mind is, if you behave in a way that is counter-stereotypical for your sex, you must be trans. Not sure if this was considered progressive when it was rolled out more than a decade ago, but zero tolerance in regards to bullying. It's basically a victim-blaming tool, which means both parties are punished the same when one party is likely a victim. It also essentially encourages the victim to only respond in kind because they're going to be punished no matter what, so I might as well stand up for myself. So it's a nice-sounding policy, but in application, it actually helps no one because an actual bully faces no real repercussions and can also drag down an innocent student with them. The infantilizing of certain races/demographics in thinking they will not be able to succeed or do basic tasks without our help. People being opposed to the idea of constructing luxury apartments. There is this concept in housing economics called filtering that happens. New apartments are constructed and tenants move to these new units and leave vacant their old units. Also, these old apartments cannot charge the same as the newer luxury units. Also, since housing supply increases, there is more competition. The old units have to lower their prices. Austin's real estate market is a real-life example of this in play. So the more luxury apartments we build, the cheaper rents become. This also applies to housing in general. In the UK, the justice system were incredibly lenient on violent criminals. Many criminals released under the early release scheme reoffended within weeks of being released. Personal carbon footprint. It's regressive because it takes the focus off the fact that 70% of emissions are from 100 companies. Also the fact that it was introduced as a marketing exercise from BP for this same reason. You ever heard of horseshoe theory? Essentially, when both sides go super radical, they loop around to being the same thing. That's how, when I was working as a tutor, I was told to not use big words around the black students because they didn't have the education I did. So, yeah, don't go too far off the deep end. That's the funny thing about progress, and larger for science. If it ends up being bad/wrong, you update the direction/science. Progress is a series of trying, learning, and pivots. In anthropology, you're encouraged to let go of your own values and embrace all cultures as valid. That's not great when the culture in question is beating up women and using kids as playthings. Less common one, but feeding income or loans into dictatorships under the promise of becoming more democratic. This does not happen. Studies suggest that dictatorships that keep being given income or having their loan maximum extended will keep spending selfishly up to the limit and won't change their habits unless forced to, i.e. not having sufficient funds to pay for the dictatorial bullcrap, invoking either a regime change or a shift toward actual democracy to evade the consequences of a regime change.